Hello, everybody. This is Bridget, and this is the Maven Insider. We are so excited to have Brandon Potter with us today as our guest. And I feel Brandon is my friend, and I feel like his story is so incredible on where he's at now compared to when I first met him. So, Brandon, thank you for joining us. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. Well, we'll go ahead and get started. Brandon, where do you come from originally? Where are you from? What made you come out here? Let's go ahead and start there.
Born and raised upstate New York in a very small town called Owego, New York. It's right outside of Binghamton, and met my wife while we were up there. I was in sales doing furniture sales. My wife was working at Men's Warehouse. We ended up getting married and having our first son. And her father, who was a financial advisor for Morgan Stanley, recommended that I change careers and possibly go into finance. So I took the opportunity and applied in Binghamton, New York at Morgan Stanley, and they just kept dragging their feet. So he pulled some strings and got me an interview at the Morgan Stanley here well, it was in Great Neck, New York, and I ended up getting the job there. And we relocated our family down here, going from upstate where we made a decent living for the area to here where the same living it was tight. But yeah, we started there, and I was at Morgan Stanley for about 4 years.
Wow, long time. So, with that said, what made you decide you guys needed to have a business or something like that? It sounds like, I know you said you moved from upstate down here and cost of living. Was that really your main driving factor?
It's actually kind of funny. Our business started as an accident. It wasn't really like something that we started to make money. I have a background in art, and uh when one day my wife and I actually went into a craft store, and I picked up a wood burning kit, and I bought something small, and I decided to make my son a children's stool where I hand engraved it, or hand wood burned it, drew it, then burned it, and then painted it. And I posted it on Facebook, and the support and the amount of people that were like, "Oh, I want one of those," it kind of went a little bit over, and then, so people were just messaging and saying, "Hey, can you make me one of those stools?" And I started making a few. I probably made an extra like $100 a month. Then I had one friend reach out, and she said, I see you guys do that hand wood burning. Can you do a hammer that says, "Daddy, thank you for building my future"? And I said, "Yeah, I'll do that." And I said, "You know what? Are you going to use it or what?" And she said, "We're probably going to just display it." I said, "Okay, well, let me make it so I can display it." And I put it in a display case, and she loved it. It was probably my first bigger sale, even though it wasn't that big. It was, it was still about $100 sale. So then um, I ended up it got to be Father's Day, and we decided to share that on local Facebook groups on Long Island. And the amount of mothers who were looking for gifts for their husbands that said, "Daddy, thank you for building my future," or "building our future," it became a little bit insane. While I'm being a financial advisor at Morgan Stanley, I'm sitting here making these hammers, and it was nice. It made us actually a couple $1,000s that month, and my wife and I were pretty excited. Everything was tight at that time. I mean, I here on Long Island with a family of four at the time. I was making approximately $70,000 a year before tax. So it was very tight, and our rent was so much. And so these little things, they kind of helped us. Well, then we ended up um, finding out that we had to move from our apartment in Bethpage, and we didn't know what we were going to do. I mean, my pay had gone down at Morgan Stanley because it's what happens is once you get through certain levels, if you're not making over a certain amount of commission, your pay goes down. Well, it's
Wow.
harder to make it in that industry. So I ended up worrying about, oh crap, what are we going to do? We started looking at apartments, and I told my wife, I'm like, I'm going to move firms. So I took an opportunity at JP Morgan, got a pay increase, and I ended up Still worried. My wife was extremely worried, but I show no worry to her because it will make her worse. So I was worried deep down inside, but I kept saying, okay, we're gonna be fine. We're gonna be fine. All of a sudden, one of our products that I started making, which was a bath caddy, blew up on a Facebook post that someone else saw our Etsy page. That's where we started out, and they saw our bath caddy, saw the pictures, and they decided to post it. And this page had over 3 million followers. So all of
Wow.
a sudden, in one night, we went from making maybe an extra $500 to $1,000 a month to that month we did $5,000, and it just kept spiraling and spiraling and spiraling. Um, and my wife had to become really involved. So she was more the face of the business, where she was just talking to people. She's very good at that, responding to customers and everything. And I was the creative one at the time. I ended up having to show her some of the stuff, and she actually became better than me at a lot of it. And she ended up taking over about, I would say, about 75 to 80% of the business while I was still working at JP Morgan.
That's
So
incredible. This is all via Etsy.
all via Etsy, yeah. And then business just kept booming, and we ended up having to add machines. So we went from hand engraving to, we have now 2 laser engravers that we're looking, when we relocate, to add another.
Let's just take a step, let's just pause there for a second.
Yep.
So I have purchased numerous items from you, and the items that I have, they're beautiful, right? And that's, some of them are actually pre your machine, your laser machine, right?
I think actually almost everything you've bought from me is pre-laser.
Yeah,
I
I
don't think.
think only one thing I have is actually like with your laser, if I'm not
Mhm,
mistaken. But it's beautiful, right? You even
mhm.
drew like a little baby Mickey Mouse for me for my nephew's gift and all these different things. How much of an investment was the laser machine?
Well, so our first laser cost us $5,500. I mean,
Wow.
it wasn't outrageous, but it
That's
was
still a
still,
lot of money for a small business though.
yeah, it was $5,500. But to be honest with you, we our first tool that started the business cost us $15. We slowly invested. We weren't all in right off the bat. I think that's what helped push us along to be where we are. I think too many people take the opportunity and they think, okay, well, I'm starting a business. I'm going to take everything I have and I'm going to throw it at the business.
Right.
I mean, it can be good, but it can also hurt because you have a lot of overhead then.
Right.
So we started, like I said, with a $15 item, and every time we had zero stock. So anytime someone order, we would go purchase the stock. Um, so and then it, like I said, slowly progressed. So our first machine was 5,500. Our latest machine now was 12,000,
Wow.
and the one that we want to get is about 45,000.
Wow.
But like I said, we aren't going to do that until after we relocate, because moving all this stuff is going to be a hassle.
I mean, this is all an online business, right? So
Yep.
wow. So when you first got started, I know you mentioned that you had posted it on Facebook, but how long from then until Etsy did you start an Etsy store?
So we started on Facebook back in it was 2014, and we actually ended up having a friend who, she was crocheting, and she owned an Etsy shop, and she said, "Hey, you guys really should look into doing this." And I kept telling my wife, I'm like, "That's a waste of time. We're doing really well here on Long Island, selling to the local parents and the local groups." And I ended up that my wife said, no, let's just take and try. So it was actually a huge savior that we did that we set up the Etsy shop. I didn't think it would ever do what it did. And it's a huge thank you to our friend that she made that recommendation to us. But I would say the middle of 2015 is when Etsy really started to show up, and there'll be some of our income coming from there.
Wow, that's incredible. And how much in sales do you do now?
Revenue wise, or
No, not revenue, just monthly in sales on Etsy.
so we roughly do about 1,000 orders a month.
Wow,
And we're up about 30% every year.
that's
So it's, yeah, so it's increasing. Um, if I can go into like a little story, we actually had a heartache happen back in December where I actually left my, just a story for you guys. I left my job at JP Morgan back in November. I decided that our business was doing really well. And we ended up in the beginning of December, Etsy felt that we had too many orders coming in and they were afraid we were not going to be able to keep up with our orders. So they shut our shop down for 3 weeks.
You're
And
kidding me.
nope. So for 3 weeks, we had no orders. We have employees now too. So we had no orders. We have a payroll and we have all our bills that we still have to pay on a regular basis. Um, so yeah, we went 3 weeks with no income. And I understand why Etsy does it. I think that they picked the wrong people to do it to, but it's because of this pandemic. There was a lot of shops that came out and they weren't fulfilling the orders in a timely manner and people were complaining and it can hurt Etsy's overall platform. But we are a seasoned shop who has never had that issue. We're always on time with our orders. We don't ever have complaints about orders being late, things like that. So it was a little it was a little irritating. But
Wow. I can just imagine the stress going through
oh yeah,
that.
yeah. Well, last year everything was just so stressful. We all had it. So
So from how long did it take you? Because I know for a long time it was you and your wife running the business. How long from the time you guys opened to hiring an employee?
so well, we opened it in 2015, but it was again, it didn't pick up until 2017. It was actually November of 2017 or October of 2017 that's when the business really picked up. So we went from then until uh, October of 2019. It was just my wife and I. I would work my full-time job at JP Morgan, then I would come home and I would work until usually 1 o'clock in the morning and get up at 6 in the morning and work until I left to go to work. And then
That's exhausting.
yep, and then Saturdays and Sundays were 12-hour days. So I was working 7 days a week, putting in as much time as I possibly could. And my wife, I mean, she's a stay-at-home mom and a business owner, so she had two full-time jobs too. So but hers is more stressful because she has to handle the kids during the day and run the business. So she had a lot on her plate also.
I can just imagine when I have my daughter for the day. I'm like, I only have one kid so far, and I kind of feel like so overwhelmed. So I
Mhm.
can only imagine. Your wife is she's superwoman. So
Yep.
awesome. What mindsets or habits have really helped you progress to where you're at right now?
Adapt. That's the biggest thing. Etsy's our main platform. We do have a website that we are currently in the process of developing, but we have learned that you have to just adapt and you have to move along. Etsy, all these companies, they change because they don't they care about their bottom dollar. So they're gonna move along to make sure that they can also have as many customers coming to them and things like that. So a lot of things have changed. We went from calculated shipping where you order it and it would just tell you how much it costs to ship to where we offer free shipping on, I would say about 90% of our products because Etsy recommended that. And they made it so that if you didn't do it, you may not show up in the top when they search for your product. So all these things we just learned, you need to adapt and move on and keep going. And that's why we're also opening our website because you can't have all your eggs in one basket.
And it's funny, I've heard of other businesses as well that have done similar, they started with Etsy and they still have their platforms with Etsy, but they've also, moved on to having their business and actually running different sales off of their businesses too. So I think that's a smart business move on your guys' end. Now, as far as I think we've talked about so much about different things that you guys have been doing, but how has the entrepreneurial life affected you and your family so far?
It's stressful while rewarding at the same time. I have three kids. I Up until November, I maybe saw them a total of 5 hours a week because of how much I worked. I didn't really get to spend much time with them. I never took weekends off. So that was the very stressful part. But the rewarding part is when I do get to spend time with them, we do things that we never were able to do before. We go on trips. We decided to buy a camper and we go camping. We do a lot of things for our kids. We're trying to give them the lifestyle that we would want them to have, where they have experiences that they probably wouldn't have had if I was still doing some of the other stuff I had done before.
Now, I know you mentioned before you left your job working at JP Morgan. Um, So what was the ultimate deciding factor? And that's a big move to, you had a steady income. What was the big deciding factor there?
Well, the biggest deciding factor was that the business was surpassed my income significantly. I mean, decent high six figures that it was doing for my family, and the stress of not being able to put 100% into either business was the biggest thing. Like I was trying on both, but things were, it's hard when you're working 12 to 15 hours a day. It's hard to put 100% of yourself into one item. So that was that there was probably the biggest. And then when I told you what happened in December, November, we had one of our largest weeks ever in the business, and it was crazy. So it's just that right there told my wife and I, we can't continue to do this. We have to separate the business or separate my employment from JP Morgan just to run the business. So I ended up resigning the day, Tuesday before Thanksgiving, had a long weekend with my family, and we went really strict into the business.
That's amazing. That's a huge achievement. And, you know, it really is an achievement, right? It's you left a job that you were tied to, but you left it because your business has grown so much to where it is now.
Yep.
Now, what is the biggest obstacle you guys have had to overcome besides, you know, JP Morgan, would you say with your guys' business?
So we've had a few. I mean, we've had the business is always going to have upsets. I feel. I mean, I don't think anything's ever going to run 100% smooth. We've had a cease and desist orders come after us before because product names. We didn't realize that a very common product that we sell, the name was trademarked, and that was our fault. We should have done a little more research. We are very proactive about that now, but it's learning experiences. So it costs us a lot of money to hire an attorney to combat this. And it taught us a lot of things. So those things, and then also just like I said, with what's happened with Etsy, shutting us down at the end or in December for putting us on a vacation, I guess is the best way to say it. In December, it was those upsets. We also had a huge fire in our home, in our workshop last year. That was an upset, but it helped us progress to where we are now. I think everything happens for a reason. I think every single thing is there to push you forward and to make you stronger.
I remember when you mentioned about the fire, and this happened right when, if I'm not mistaken, right when the pandemic started, right?
Yep. Yeah, it was almost, it will be a year ago on the 28th of this month that we lost our house in a fire. Right now, I'm sitting in front of the rental home that we are in until our house is done being rebuilt.
Wow, that's crazy. But that's a huge obstacle right there. I mean, you guys have gone through so much. The copy infringement, I mean, I think that's a lot of things that sometimes people don't realize, right? And
Yep.
that's great that now you've kind of learned from that. If you had to tell future entrepreneurs 3 tips, what would it be?
Like I said, the biggest thing, don't sink all your eggs into one basket. It can mean that in multiple things, your platform, where you're selling things, or even just the product. Don't have just one product. We have a product line of about 250 items now. So we're not sinking all into one product. We also are looking to expand into different platforms. We are going to always be an e-commerce business, so it's never going to be a brick and mortar, just because we reach the whole world. We're a worldwide seller. So that's one of the biggest tips. Another tip is always adapt, move forward, look at what's trending, what's changing, and make sure you make those changes. And I would say the third, and this is the biggest, I know a lot of these shows like Shark Tank and that tell you need to be 100% in. I think you also need that backup while you're starting. I think if I didn't have the financial firm behind me and working at these businesses, I would not be where I am today, because I would have probably failed out, because there's a lot of heartache. You can't please everybody. You're going to have slow months starting out, unless you are the ultimate salesperson. And that's one of the biggest things that we learned that helped us out, was having that backing.
I gotta say, Brandon, I am so excited to see what the future is like for you guys. I'm sad that you're actually leaving Long Island in the future. Even though I don't see you often, I know that you're here, that if I needed something, you're so close.
Yeah.
I'm just so excited because from when I met you to now, your business has grown dramatically and you have a very unique business, and just congratulations to all you and your wife's hard work, because it's come with a lot of hard work balancing all these different aspects to your lives and enduring all the obstacles you guys have gone through. So well done, guys, and I wish you the best for the future too.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Is there anything?
So I went
go ahead.
went from wearing suits every day, and I've had a beard for a long time, but not like this, to be able to wear my sweats or shorts and sweatshirts. That's the best experience, not being told what you have to do on a daily basis. I think that's one of the most rewarding things that any entrepreneur can look forward to. Your boss is you. Well, my boss is my wife, but your boss is you, and you can do what you want to do on your daily basis.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Brandon. Again, we really appreciate the time. Is there anything else you want to add before we end?
You know what? If you guys want to take a look at our shop, I would appreciate that. You can Google Blank Canvas by Potter. Right now, the Etsy page is probably the best way to look at us, because our site, like I said, is still under construction. We're having some little hiccups on there, but take and Google us. We make a lot of great homemade, or not homemade, but a lot of great personalized gifts that you can get, cutting boards, glasses, flasks. Our biggest thing is the ski board for shots. So that's a ski that 4 people take a shot with. But all our gifts are made custom and by me, my wife, and our employee, Miguel, and we can get it all done for you pretty quickly. And shipping is free on 95% of our stuff, I'd say.
And guys, I can guarantee you guys, everything that Brandon comes up with is absolutely beautiful. It's very unique. I have multiple of his items, and we'll also make sure to post his information on this link as well on our YouTube channel, so you guys can easily access it too if you guys want. And for real estate agents, he offers great closing gifts ideas too. So that's one big thing.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much, Brandon. Guys, that's it for today's Maven Insider. We really appreciate it. If you have any questions for us or anything you want to add, go ahead and shoot us a message, and we'll see you guys the next episode. See ya.
Bye.